Good morning and welcome to Smart Business Strategies. I am Anna Wilds, the franchise economist, and today we have an exciting show. We have Sarah Van Aken with Sky Zone joining us. Welcome, Sarah.
Thanks so much for having me, Anna. Always great to be with you and excited to talk about Sky Zone.
Absolutely. And today's topic is on the very important factor for anyone considering a brick and mortar location: real estate and construction. So thank you, Sarah, for helping talk about this very important topic with
Yeah,
our audience
absolutely.
today.
Yeah, thank you. It's super exciting. One of the key parts of any brick and mortar concept, and certainly very different to open one than run one. And I don't know if you'd like me to share a little bit about Sky Zone,
Yeah,
just
yeah. Please
overall, but
tell us
um,
about you
you
and
know,
Sky Zone.
All right, great. Yeah, so I have been in franchising probably a little over 5 years, been supporting franchise brands in emerging brands and growing. But I've been an entrepreneur most of my career. So I know what it's like for the folks that you work with and putting their own money on the line and changing their lives through entrepreneurship. Sky Zone is absolutely incredible. It's a 20-year-old brand with 263 locations. We are
Wow.
a site-based experiential brand. We were the original trampoline park. But of
Wow.
course, today, as we've expanded, are well beyond trampolines in the 60 plus attractions that we have in our parks. I think most
60?
excitingly,
Is that what you said? 60?
yeah. So each
Wow.
park might only have like 16 or 20, but you get to refresh them because they're really modular. So we'll talk about that later. But I think one of the really cool things about Sky Zone is that it's really the world's largest entertainment center. More people go to Sky Zone every year, so over 40 million guests. More people go to
Wow.
Sky Zone than Disneyland or Six Flags Great Adventure or the NFL and NBA combined.
That's mind blowing, Sarah. That's really hard to put your head around.
It is.
That's
But if you
amazing.
go to a Sky Zone, you will get it because it's really exciting. And anyone who's had kids, if they're near Sky, who has kids who has near Sky Zone, they know about it.
All right. Well, what what makes, in addition to the 60 different attractions, what really makes Sky Zone unique or different just within franchising?
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things that is that I'd love to talk about today that's really interesting is the real estate and construction support is just top notch. It's beyond what I have seen other franchisors do. And it's such a critical component to, getting a location open is not everyone's experience or wheelhouse. And it's very different than the day-to-day running of one. So I'd love to talk a little bit about that.
Okay, well, please do.
Cool.
Um, talk about, I mean, I think that's one of the things a lot of people are
Mhm.
drawn to franchising about because of that support in
Yeah.
site selection, lease negotiation,
Yeah.
and build out. And
Yeah.
something the size of a Sky Zone, I mean, what's the average size of your 260?
30,000 square feet.
Yeah,
They're big.
so you want somebody who,
Yeah,
so
for
you want a
sure.
franchisor who's got that as a strong suit, right?
Exactly. And, personally, I've opened retail stores before. None of my businesses were franchises. I made a lot of mistakes on my own dime. This is a critical component, picking the right franchisor with the right support. The cool thing about Sky Zone with over 263 locations and an incredible data infrastructure to track our businesses, we had a lot of information to pull from. And we
Mhm.
use that data to really design what we call an A plus park. So both from site selection and finding the right location to the actual build out of the park. And it's a huge differentiator for us. You know, when we look at a lot of times, you're going to go, the folks that you're working with are going to work with a brand and they're going to say, here's a territory, here's population, household income number, the foundations. This
Mhm.
brand goes incredibly deep. We know that our most successful stores are near superstores like Target superstores or Costco. We know that they have lower performance if they're near a lot of dollar stores. We know
Mm.
that the number of enrolled kids in school is more critical than household income, right? We have a lot of data just geographically to know. And then once we go to look at building the park, selecting the right site, we're really going to, we know 30,000 square feet is the optimal size. The number of attractions, we like 17 foot plus ceiling heights, right? We have all of
Mhm.
these things defined and detailed so that our franchise partners can really be set up for success in their business.
Sarah, that's so interesting, and I'd love for you to talk a little bit more about the construction aspect of it, because a lot
Hmm.
of people have not built a
Yeah.
30,000 square foot commercial
Yeah.
space before. So how does that what talk
Yeah.
to us about the Sky Zone experience
Yeah. So
in that
one of the things that's really great is we know how to design great parks. So Sky Zone Corporate also has Sky Zone Parks, right? So they know how to build and operate these things. So it's pretty easy for them to support franchisees because they're experts in it. And they do provide all the resources. So when site selection is happening, you're looking at specific sites, we're going to do the site plans for you, make sure it works, estimate all the cost structures of like any demo that needs to be done or any retrofitting and the build out. The great thing about our attractions is that they're modular. There's not a ton of mechanicals, and so they're, fundamentally a little bit easier than some like if you were building a restaurant, right? There's
right.
a lot of plumbing, a lot of gas, like tile, all the hood systems, they're pretty complicated. Luckily
Mhm.
with Sky Zone, because of how we build our attractions, it's a little bit more simple than that. But we provide incredible set of support every step through the real estate and construction project process so that our franchise partners are really supported in getting open um, as quickly as possible and within the budget that they have.
So I think the golden nugget in that is that the approach to construction with Sky Zone is modular versus
Hmm.
mechanical. So
Yeah.
tell us a little bit more about what that means and what's the advantage of that.
Yeah. So when you look, well, we do fall sort of in the global children's entertainment market. We are also
Yep.
in the trampoline park market, right? So when you look and stack Sky Zone up against competitors, what you're going to see is that the majority of our competitors have very mechanical attractions. So they require a lot of maintenance. They are pretty expensive to build, let alone switch in and out. So the
Oh,
way that Sky Zone, yeah, and then like the upkeep on them and all of that. And so the way Sky Zone builds their attractions is it's pretty modular on, kind of large foam blocks and different components so that every 6 months, every year, our franchise partners can really switch in and out an attraction or two to keep the park fresh and innovative at a pretty low
excellent.
cost.
Yeah.
And then that just, builds in, we have multiple revenue streams, which is pretty great and plays into some of that. So a pretty unique feature of Sky Zone for sure.
I really, when you were giving that example, Sarah, the thing that immediately came to mind is I won't say the brand name, but haven't we all been to like a hotel that was built 20 years ago? It used to be great then, but it is so
Yeah.
dated and,
Yeah.
you know, you can't do
Mhm.
much with a,
Mhm.
10-story building. I mean, it's, unless the
Yeah.
cost of ripping it all out
Ripping everything out.
back, and then you
Mhm.
can't have revenue generation during all that anyway.
Right.
So
And
that
and to that point, one of the things that your candidates are gonna be looking at is what the requirements are for 10-year refreshes, right? When the franchise agreement is up for renewal and they have to do refreshes of their locations. Well,
mhm,
with Sky Zone, we get to do that ongoing, and the facility itself is pretty simple that those upkeep items are not nearly as significant as something, like some brands that have more infrastructure of that type.
right, right, and there's this massive lump sum that's needed at the
Mhm.
end of every 10 years versus
Yeah.
ongoing maintenance or
Mhm.
adding innovations in and out and that sort of thing.
Exactly.
I love it. That's great. Well, Sarah, explain to the audience, what is the role of the owner of a Sky Zone? I mean, are they selling tickets and running the machines? What are they doing?
If they're doing that, things are going wrong. That's not how we're set up, at least. I know some brands are owner operator. This is a true executive model. So our franchise partners are really going to be making strategic financial and business decisions. Prior to opening, they're going to hire a general manager. Then that general manager really has two assistant managers and hires a team of people. And so we have an incredible data stack that really provides an incredible amount of information and tracking KPIs to allow both the general manager and the owner to effectively run the business. But we have franchise partners who live in different states. who it's a 9-hour, flight and drive to get to their
Wow.
locations, because our franchise partners are really not in their parks every day. And now some of them are so passionate about it in the first like year, they like to be involved or in the location, but they're not managing the facility and location. This is a true executive model, which also gives them the opportunity to scale and have multiples. We have many multi-unit franchise owners.
Sarah, that sets us up for the next question. So who does Sky Zone look for
Yeah.
in a
Yeah.
franchise candidate? Who makes a good franchisee of Sky Zone?
So SkyZone is really looking for sophisticated business leaders, right? And we have a lot of folks that do come out of corporate America and have strong transferable business skills. Someone who can delegate, who's a strong leader from and manage teams, build culture, um, really has the ability to be strategic. So someone who might get lost in the weeds would kind of fall into that. Hey, they're too tied up in the day to day of the park. We're
Mhm,
really looking for people with strong business experience. That can come from a wide range of backgrounds in business, anything from, engineers to sales and marketing executives to, and
mhm.
that can be a range, but really people who have strong business acumen
And leadership skills and
and
can
leadership skills.
delegate
And
and
and I
decision
think
make.
financial acumen, right? Because you're really looking at numbers and financials and managing from that perspective.
And all those characteristics are applicable to any executive model franchise, Sky Zone included.
Yep, it's true.
Yeah, very good. Well, Sarah, this podcast is called Smart Business Strategies. So what would you share with the audience is a smart business strategy that you see Sky Zone, employing that
Yeah.
they could take away from today's podcast?
Yeah, I think that SkyZone does this exceptionally well. It's something to investigate when you're looking at any franchise. But I think that you as a franchise owner don't need to be an expert in SkyZone. As this brand as example, right? You really need to know to be surrounded by and supported by a team of experts. You know,
Mhm,
especially we've been talking today a lot about real estate and construction. As I mentioned, like getting one of these up and running is very different than operating one. And so in
mhm.
that case, I think SkyZone is exceptional. But when we look for brands, when I look for brands to work with, we're looking for a leadership team that we like, trust, and respect and has the vision. We look for a market and industry that's been growing, showing some signs of growth, but that also has the support in place to ensure that franchise partners are successful. And I think that's one of the key things that SkyZone does very well.
And it sounds like the real estate construction is really, as you'd shared with me, that's they know how they mine all the data that they have on their existing
Yeah.
locations. They know how to find
Hmm.
and build A-plus locations. It's
They
fantastic.
do. Yeah. It's far beyond any brand that I've worked with. So it's pretty unique in that sense.
Well, Sarah, thanks for sharing that. And if anyone wants to learn more about Sky Zone, what do you recommend they do?
Anna, you're an expert in this. You've been doing this quite a long time and have supported, I don't know, hundreds, thousands of people. They should really call you because you know a lot about what you're doing.
Which is to help people find the franchises
Yeah,
right for them,
yeah,
right? And Sky
absolutely.
Zone is a unique opportunity. It's not going to be for everybody,
Hmm.
but that's kind of where I work together with franchisors to
Yeah.
find the right person who has the right skill set and what's in their
Hmm.
wallet to leverage all that and be a success as a franchise business owner. So it's a very
Yeah.
rewarding thing that I do, and I know you feel the
Good.
same way.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a pleasure being here with you today.
Well, audience, thank you, Sarah, for being here. Audience, this is Sarah Van Aken with Sky Zone. And audience, I thank you for watching and listening. And do come back next week. I'm going to catch you up on what's going on in the medical space in franchising. Health and wellness continues to grow year after year after year. You're not going to want to miss it. Come back next Wednesday at 11:30 Eastern. I'm Anna Wilds, the franchise economist. See you then.